What does church planting mean to you? You know, sometimes we think of church planting as a new place or a new suburb where a church has never met before. Or we might imagine a new building being built on a new piece of land. But right across our movement, there's all different ways that churches are planting churches. And we've seen God do some amazing things through the work of established and growing churches who have a heart for church planting. Growing churches who have faithfully gone out to revitalise struggling churches who desire a fresh start. And we've seen God work powerfully through this approach to church planting that embraces both entrepreneurship and the Great Commission. This is true for the story of New Heart Baptist Church, Balmoral campus. A story that started with prayer and a church plant pioneer team from the congregation of New Heart Baptist in Rochedale. And today the New Heart team have transformed the former site of Carey Baptist Church into a bustling 7-day-a-week hub focused on multiplying disciples and building relationships in the heart of the Bulimba community through its beautiful cafe. Here's some of New Heart's story. Please enjoy.
I'm Paul Butler and I'm the Senior Pastor of New Heart Baptist Church. This is New Heart Balmoral and this is its story. This is our newly built and freshly appointed These Three Things Cafe, which is our way at this place of engaging with our community amongst other things. New Heart was formed out of Rochedale Baptist. We created a mission statement of disciples making disciples. And so we had this heart for a long time to start new churches, but for 10 years we didn't do that. We seemed to be pinned down by church growth ideas. The opportunity came along when one day in an elders meeting, one of our elders told us about an old church called Carey Baptist down in Bulimba, and I actually knew that church. I'd been passing that church along the way to going to Bulimba theatres or Balmoral theatres, and I used to pray, Lord, revitalise that church. And our elder was talking about this church, and he said, I think there's an opportunity for us to talk to that congregation about the idea of starting it again. And we did that, and it was God led us into that, and we had the opportunity to work with Queensland Baptist. And over a period of time, probably 6 months between the original conversation and taking it on, and that came to pass. And so October, 10 years ago, so we're celebrating our 10th anniversary here, we took over the church. 12 people from our church in Rochedale came down and became the pioneer team. And none of them lived in the area, but they were there to pray, and they were there to begin to work with one person that we had connection with in the community. It was a lady who had a heart to reach people for God, and she was a young mum with young kids, and she said this, can you make a place for us for me to bring my friends who have children for coffee and meet with them? And that's where it all started. And over time, those 12 people who were pioneers have moved on and been replaced with locals and brand new Christians and other Christians from the local community. And we had a dream of one day having a cafe, and today, 10 years later, after the beginning, that dream's fulfilled in this. When we first took over Balmoral, the buildings, I think are post-war, or perhaps even earlier than that, they were old and tired and filled with history, really. So our job was to just strip it all back, paint it all out, and to create that space for our person of peace, that lady who's going to network us with the community. And so we spent time painting the whole place out, refurbishing furniture, getting rid of stuff that we couldn't use, and then we made this a place for her to have coffee with kids. And we had some amazing times with women who we got to know, who became Christians just through that relationship building. It was a lot of work, both on the building side and the relationship work, but it was absolutely worth it. My experience with buildings is that people go, people are more important than buildings. But actually, when you think about it, buildings are actually for people. And what we've tried to do here is, and everywhere in New Heart, is to think about the way buildings help people build relationship. And so making this place beautiful, making it comfortable, and making it a place that people kind of walk in to go, wow, is this a church? That's really important to us. So the cafe isn't aligned with our vision for disciple making. It gives us the opportunity to meet people, to connect with them, to share with them, or to actually hear their story and for us to share our story. And at a certain point to invite them to one step further in their journey towards Jesus as that opportunity arises. And that can happen with individually, as a group, as a church. So the cafe just creates this opportunity for us as a church to do that in a way that's comfortable for the people in our community. It's a beautiful segue, a bridge you might call it, between the community and the church. Every Sunday since we've started, we've had people visiting our church who came for coffee. And they just sit there and they engage in the process, and some people will come back, other people have gone, oh, it's very interesting, I like that, I like what you do. We've got ongoing relationships that are building. We already have regulars, and those regulars are building relationships with our baristas, our cafe chappies we call them. Their heart is to do those things, to meet, connect, share, and then invite. And so they're not in a hurry they're not here to convert people. We're not here to convert people. Jesus converts people. And they're here really just to go on a journey with people. And by the way, the cafe is not the only way, which we're not put all our eggs in one basket and say this is the only way we're going to meet with our community. And this is true for every part of New Heart here and at other places. There's so many different ways we engage with people in our community. The cafe is just one vehicle. And our vision for the cafe is that we hope that this could be a funding model for church planting or start-up churches in other places. It gives you a bridging point for your community. It provides a gathering place for you as a church. It provides an employment vehicle for your church planter. And it's also a place where you can introduce the community into things like Alpha or parenting courses, or things that just sort of give them one step closer. So it's our hope that once we get this nutted down, that we'll be able to reproduce this in urban areas with churches of about 100, not as a place of worship, but as a community hub where we do all these different things, play groups and cafe and op shop and all these different things, so that depending on whatever place we find ourselves, we're not confined by town planning as a place of worship. And because this place is operating 7 days a week with activity that's going on. I have a vision that this could happen in country towns with high streets, and you create a beautiful cafe place as a meeting point. It's the only one in town that actually goes out of its way to do great coffee, great food, and to be beautiful. And you've got a church planter there whose heart is for people, for food, and for creating friendships for Jesus. That would be awesome to see that happen and transform towns around them. Be the shop that changes everything. Our desire is to not just do what we're doing and keep it to ourselves. Our desire is to take what we're learning and to share it with church leaders and people wanting to start new churches. And we started this network called the Jesus Collaborative, and we've got a website. But our desire is also to work with QB in their Project 11 launch, and we've created an internship program specifically for church planters, and so that they can actually alongside any training that they might get at Malion or Cube, Launch or whatever, that they have a practical outworking where they're being mentored in a context which is actually happening. And we have voluntary and paid internships that we're working on. And we have a vision of seeing people trained up as cafe chappies, starting new ministries and missions hubs, Queensland, Australia, perhaps the world, because we think this is just a simple model that can be reproduced. But underneath that, it's that idea that they go out understanding they're not trying to build a church, but they're seeking to be obedient to Jesus' great command to make disciples.